Hello everyone, today I will teach you how to play Upwords. Let's get to it.
Hi everyone.
Make sure you like and subscribe for more, and also check out my gaming channel, Markis Gaming, for video game Let's Play content. I'm going to post a image of the modern day version of this game right here, that is if I do not forget. But once you know it, I own a copy of the game that was produced over 40 years ago. You can easily tell by the graphic design of the box as well as the size of the box. And once you know it, it's still factory sealed. Not for long. I really don't care if this game is factory sealed, because if I were to keep this sealed, chances are it's not going to go up in value. It's a game after all, it's not like a collectible. If you'd like to see the back of the box, well, here you go. Pretty basic. Again, the graphic design back in the 80s was very limited, and this is evidence of it. So, Upwords sort of works like Scrabble, except the board not only is limited to how many you can put on here for tiles, since it is an 8x8 grid holding up to 64 individual tiles, but as you can see, there's no point bonuses for letters or words shown on the board itself. This is how you set up the game. Take all 64 letter tiles, place them face down, and shuffle them all up like this. Even though I don't have all of the tiles shown in the video, it's not necessary for me to have them all on the table. Place the game board in the middle of the table, and each player gets a rack. One player gets to keep score, so give that player a pad of paper and a pen, and don't forget to have a dictionary on hand, or during the modern age, you can always use the internet to look up words. Each player draws one letter tile from the draw pile. Whoever draws a tile that is closest to the letter A goes first. Return those tiles face down back to the draw pile and shuffle them all up. Afterwards, each player draws 7 letter tiles and adds them to their respective racks. Do not show to your opponents what you have for letters. The player that goes first in a game must start the game by spelling a word on the game board with their letter tiles that must be 2 or more letters long and must cover 1 or more of the special spots on the board, which are in the shape of an octagon. So for this video, let's start off by spelling the word mat. There you go. And turn order goes clockwise. When spelling a word on the game board, it must be spelled from left to right and up to down. You cannot spell a word in reverse, and you cannot spell a word diagonally. On your turn, using your letter tiles, you will do one of 2 things. You will either spell a new word that connects a word on the board, or you can change a word on the board into a different one. So let's say on my turn, I have the letters D and N handy in my rack. So for option number 1, I can place the letter D here, and the letter N right here to spell the word den using the letter E from the word mat. This is allowed. And for option 2, I got those same 2 letters, so I'm going to cover the M with a D and the T with an N and spell the word den this way, and this is also allowed. But if you're going to change a word on the board into something different, keep this in mind. You cannot cover all tiles to change the word. So like I said earlier, this is allowed because the letter E remains uncovered. But you will not be able to cover the word mat with certain words like lab or fog. At least 1 or more tiles must remain uncovered for you to change the word into something different. And whenever you spell your word, you calculate how much you got for points, and it'll be written on the score pad. I will go over illegal words and scoring later in the video. You are allowed to spell more than 1 word on your turn, as long as you can find the right time to do it, and as long as the words you spell are legal. Take for example, I spelt the word male, but once you know it, I also spelt the word an. These are both legal words, and I earn points for all the words that I've spelt on my turn. So if a letter from the word that you spelled is adjacent to another one or more letters on the board, that word must be legal. Here's an example that is not allowed. So I'm going to spell the word ton. There you go. But wait, the word AO, that's not a word, so this is not allowed. If you stumble upon this kind of predicament, you'll have to take your tiles back and simply try again with a new word. Here's some other guidelines you need to follow. You cannot stack a tile on top of a tile that matches its letter. So for example, you can't stack an E on top of an E. Also, you cannot stack more than one tile on a single stack on a single turn. And throughout the game, a stack can hold no more than 5 tiles. After that, you can no longer stack any more tiles on top of that respective stack. Did you know that you can both spell a new word and change a word on the board on the same turn? Take this for example. I spelt the word send legally, of course, but in turn I also spelt the word sail, and because these 3 tiles did not get covered, this is allowed, so I spelt both words and I get points for both of those words. You can't just make a word plural by itself on your turn. So for example, you have the letter S and you change the word tail into tails. This is not allowed. However, you can make this word plural as long as you use this letter S from a new word. For example, I'm going to spell the word sum. Here I spelled the word sum and then made the tails plural this way to make a new word. This is allowed and I get points for both of the words. If you think an opponent spelled a word that is either illegal or misspelled, such as the word back without the K, then you can challenge it, but it has to be done before the next word is played. Use either the dictionary or the internet to find out if the word is legal or not. If it's illegal, the player who played this word must take those tiles back and simply try again. You can exchange letters on your turn. Just simply take the one letter that you don't need, place it face down next to the draw pile, take the tile that you want, and then shuffle up the face down tiles like this. However, if you do exchange a letter on your turn, you give up your turn without spelling a word on the board. There's one thing I forgot to mention. At any time during the game, you may pass your turn, even if you have letters in your possession that can spell a word on the board. This is a good strategy if you're waiting for someone to spell a specific word on a specific part of the board, so that then you can spell that massively long 6 or 7 letter word. Use skipping a turn to your advantage. You may pause here to read about illegal words. If you find a foreign word in a dictionary, you are allowed to spell it on the board. Now it's time to talk about scoring, and there are many ways you can score in this game. You earn 2 points per tile from a word where all of its letters are only 1 tile high. For example, here's the word mortal, and there's nothing stacking on top of each of these letters. They're only 1 tile high for each letter. This right here would be worth 12 points. You earn 1 point per tile from a word where any of its letters are stacked with 2 or more tiles, including tiles that are underneath the stack. So for example, I have this letter P, so I'm going to change the word mortal into the word portal. This right here would be worth 7 points because you have your 5 letters here for 5 points. And this right here would be worth 2 points because you have 1 point for the P and another point for the M that is underneath the stack. This is 7 points. The Q tile comes with a letter U built into it, so you don't need to use the U tile to fit in between the Q and the letter before it. If you spell a word that includes the Q tile and all of the letters are only 1 tile high, you earn 2 bonus points. For example, you have the word question and they are not stacked. Every letter shown are only 1 tile high. So you have your 7 tiles, you multiply that by 2 apiece, so you have your 14 points, plus the Q is included for an extra 2 bonus points, so the word question is worth a whopping 16 points. However, if any one of the letters is stacked with 2 or more tiles with the letter Q into that word, you do not get those 2 bonus points. Like I said earlier, if you can spell more than one word on the same turn, you will earn points for all of those words spelled. For example, I got these tiles here, so I'm going to spell this word. So I spelled the word ban, but once you know it, I also changed the word curd into curb and the word pet into net. So I spelled a total of 3 different words. Unfortunately, I'm only going to get 1 point per tile because this B has 2 or more tiles in the same stack, and the same goes for this letter N, and they are included in all 3 words, so I only get 1 point apiece. So the word curb, right up here, would be worth 5 points because you have 1, 2, 3 plus 2. Down here you have 4 points because you have your 2 here plus this and this. And the word ban would be worth 5 points because you have 2 here, and 1 here. So 5, 5, and 4, that would be 14 points. Not too shabby. If you can use all 7 of your tiles on the same turn, you'll earn a whopping 20 bonus points. And lastly, there's only one way that you can actually lose points in this game. At the end of the game, you will lose 5 points for each tile that you have left in your possession that you could not play. So let's say, for example, at the end of the game you have 120 points and you have 3 tiles left over that you are unable to play. So you lose 15 points. That leaves you with a final score of 105. There are 3 ways a game can end. When all 64 letter tiles have been played, when no player can make a word on the board with whatever they have left for letters, and when all players pass their turn in consecutive order. When one of these scenarios happens, just simply use the scoring system that I mentioned a moment ago to determine the final score for all players. The player with the most points wins the game. And in case you're interested, feel free to pause here to read about the letter distribution, which is what letters are included in the game. For example, this game comes with 6 E's, and so forth. And that is how you play Upwards. If you're willing to try this game out, you won't be able to find the 80s copy, obviously, unless you look really hard at a flea market or on eBay. However, I do believe the modern version is still for sale. I remember seeing one at Walmart, so try that place first. And with that, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Take care.